Hello everyone, welcome back to the lab. It's been a couple days since I posted the Rose Dragon video last time. I hope everyone enjoying the theory crafting and the brainstorming over there in that video. If you have not checked, feel free to go watch that video. Well, it's not related to this one, but recently in like the past couple weeks, I've been getting a lot of different kind of comments under all my Dragonlink videos, especially under like I think a couple weeks ago where I went to the regional and I made the deck profile on about this Rocket PK version of Dragonlink that I actually topped the tournament with. However, well, if we look closely into the list in the picture, I forgot a lot of comments. There's a lot of people asking me, yeah, you see, there's at the bottom of my main deck, there were three forbidden droplets. And it's just, there are so many people asking me, yeah, droplets are a little bit way too expensive. Is there like a more budget friendly version of um well, according to them, is there like a more budget version of the whole deck they can try instead? And see, part of me don't want to ignore them because they still comment, they still appreciate it, still saying like this is a good list, this is very innovative, whatever thing. Appreciate you two on the support first, but I don't want to ignore all of them. But on the other hand, like I will feel bad just if I do ignore like those kind of comments. But on the other hand, it's like if people whoever have deck building for even 5 minutes in the format, they will realize there is Dark Ruler, and here is the answer. Dark Ruler is just literally the cheaper version of Droplet if you don't, like, for example, play both already. Um, then, like, the answer is fairly simple. Like, part of me don't want to ignore those people who commented asking what's the cheaper version of Droplet, but also part of me just feel a little bit annoyed because the answer is fairly quite obvious, and um I'm expecting people just know that. Actually, that's like a fact. So me conflicting with both sides, I made a conclusion. Why don't I just actually make a specific video talking about being competitive and also being relatively trying budget? Well, hence you see the title. Um, therefore, um, yeah. So I guess I guess let's just start with Droplet. Um, let's hop on TCG Player actually. Droplet, Forbidden Droplet, card from Rise of Duelists. I think, well, it's been out for how long? Almost like 10 months, I think, at this point. Started high, went even higher because all the stimmy effect, and now it's relatively very unfriendly to get. Car sets at $114 a copy, and if you want a verify seller, they are or 120 plus. So getting a playset just gonna cost you $360, which, yeah, it's quite a big money. However, if you trying to go budget, there's Dark Ruler. Dark Ruler is always acceptable or accessible. See, the Mega Megating Dark Ruler is only what? Well, this is modern. Near mint 13, 14, so it's under 15, right? So you're probably spending about $40 to just get a playset for the Mega Megating one. Or you can go even cheaper, and here is your common one from the Spear Charmer structure deck. Which these are only costing like 5-ish each. You get like $15 for just a whole playset. Now you get a card. Now you get like a cheaper version of Forbidden Droplet, which there you go. That's all. That's majority. The answer to majority of my comments and who asked the similar questions. And like if you say you can't even afford like a place of dark cooler, well, at this point, my only recommendation is, yeah, you probably shouldn't trying to build the real card. Just get a. You could get a shitty laptop and still play Dueling Book fine. Yeah, just play DB tournaments. Then you don't have to worry about any of the budget issue for a deck because all you need to do is log on Dueling Book. You have everything. And like we still under the quarantine time technically, so half of the tournaments, half of the majority of the tournaments are still online on DB, and yeah, there you go. You still have tournaments to play. And another card I've been asked a lot, which is Lightning Storm. Card came from Ignition Assault, never got reprinted. Will get reprinted in like about half year in this year's Megaton. This card right now sits around like 110. Actually, these are not verified. This is German. 115 plus each copy. And so a playset will cost you what? 330, 350, around that. Almost as expensive as Droplet. See, Lightning Storm, on the other hand, yeah, it's there isn't really like a straight copy or replacement to it, just because Lightning Storm does carry both the front row and the back row. And well, I guess let's break it down. What if you want to cover for just the back rows? There's quite a few copies. Usually people, well, usually people already have like, for example, Reboot, and Duster, which you should be able to have these cards because these are dirt. Reboot is literally just dirt. Feather Duster still worth some money, but the most reprinted Gold Series copy only costs you like $10 ish. Huh. Now I realize this is like actually kind of market watch video. Yeah, well, the price might change by the time you watch this video in the future. So just do a little bit of research. Like the reprints could happen when you watch this video like half a year later. But probably should say it at the beginning, but whatever. Now, like by the time this video is recorded, it's like late April. See, there is a recent copy of from Maxim Go of Feather Duster, which only costs you $10 ish. That's relatively accessible. So, however, I think majority of people already have like Duster and Reboot alongside with Lightning Storm if they play like so. As actually, I play all of them in my regional deck. Therefore, there's other copies, there are other cards you can maybe try to replace your Lightning Storm with. If you mainly trying to deal with the back row, Evenly is one of them. See, Evenly has a very recent Ghost from Past reprint, and this set's only at 13. Oh, these are not verified. Like 16 copies each, so under $50 you get your playset. Which now, if you really think about it, like $50 is some money, but if you get one copy of Lightning Storm, that's equivalent to 6 copy, like 2 complete playsets Evenly. Then you'll realize, yeah, Evenly is relatively pretty cheap, like much cheaper to access to at least get the card, get the replacement to play. Other cards, for example, I think, let me see, Denko is also a good quote unquote replacement. Denko is dirt cheap now, not like years ago. And what other ones? Twin Twister is another one. Twin Twisters being cards being actually relatively old now. Now you think about it, it came from what, Bosch? Yeah, it's been a couple years, and it has been reprinted numerous times already. So it's yeah, Spirit Charmers also has Twin Twisters, so you can just buy the whole structure that you get both Twin Twister and Dark Druid. Nice. And See, these are relatively the easier and cheaper copies you can play. However, there's definitely a downside compared to Lightning Storm. For example, let's just use the example of Evenly. Evenly, if you are playing a deck that could get Lancia, like if your opponent was siding Lancia against you, then Evenly is might not be a viable option for you as a replacement for Lightning Storm. Because, for example, that actually did happen to me when I was playtesting at the beginning of the format. I siding evenly when I was playing dragons, and I tried to evenly my opponent got Lanciered. So I wasted my whole evenly in my battle phase, and that's quite devastating to at that game at least. And if you can see that kind of situation happening to you, maybe evenly just not really a viable choice for you. Other things like, for example, like we talk about Denko. Let's see, Denko is a card that require you also have no backrow to in order to lock their backrow. So and also require your normal summon. So if you play a deck where you heavily needed your normal summon, then Denko is not possible for you as a replacement Lightning Storm. See, I'm gonna mention the word replace or replacement very often in this video. Why? Because cards are being played usually because they cannot be replaced by other cards or they have replaced other like older weaker copies. That's why they are relatively having a higher demand and causing them to be more expensive. And that's that's why Droplet are expensive. It's has never got reprinted. Also, um it cannot be replaced by other really cards. Like some people even play Dark Ruler with Droplet together just to increase the copy. You see at least one copy of it. And so the Lightning Storm never got reprinted and cannot be replaced by any other cards easily. Like the card that really can replace it is like Duster, but it's at what's one. So yeah, that's it. And I didn't mention Cosmic because Cosmic is more usually like a mint that card already. And I will I'm just making an assumption like maybe you already have minged it already. So in the conversation about talking about sidecars, and it's you probably won't choose Cosmic to replace Lightning Storm. And see, Lightning Storm, like the other reason why Lightning Storm is so irreplaceable because it also has the you can get to destroy your opponent's attack position monster effect. And this part, it's usually not the effect people mainly use. It's just something that can come up, and when it does come up, it feels pretty good. Um, and well, since the district backhoe is majority of the time what people are using, and technically you can, if you really just only using the car as to destroy the monsters, uh, this is like quite a good amount of copy of different kind of thing that you can use to for that effect. Like as an old copy, Raigeki does the job even better because it doesn't even limit the position. And the Raigeki is also in Spirit Charmers. How convenient is which is that means also it's dirt cheap. Um let me see some other cards like Kaiju Slumber, which is also cheap. Um is the Raigeki. And for well this current specific format, because there are the wing statue, you might want to if you want to play any of the kaijus, you probably want to prioritize choosing the winged one, the Gendar, the Maz, the Gedara, and well that's why you see the price like the moth is slightly or also actually much more expensive than any other the kaiju in the market, just because this one has much higher demand for how the current format is. And let me see, yeah, that's another copy of car I like. You people usually might ask because how expensive it is. And let me see another one. What's next? Access code. Cards from Eternity Code a year ago, almost a year. Um, Sits at $95, never got reprinted. As you see, a lot of these cards is because they are released in the past year. That's why they have never got reprinted and causing the price to be very high. Access code has pretty much two effects. One effect, you gain attack on summon based on one of the material used, how many link rating it is. Second, you banish different attribute of link monster in the graveyard to destroy a card on field doesn't target, and your opponent can now respond to neither of the effect. So let's break down. You usually you use a gain attack effect to OTK opponent, and you use the pop effect to clear boards. Very simple. So let's break down. If we break down the two effect, if you want something to really OTK opponent, your options are usually just bow or sword. Like bow or sword has also been reprinted. It was the chase card of 2019, which would make like it was like one. It was the Access Code before Access Code. So and now it's like nothing. Like the Gold Sears copy, so it's what $4. Although the art is pretty ugly, but it has the same effect anyway. And if you really want to like just OTK your opponent, then there you go. There's your board sword as the replacement. It requires a slightly higher than access code because it requires 3 when access code only requires 2. So that's see then you see the difference why access code is more preferred than Borosaur, at least in the current format. And that's pretty much it. I think mainly well Borosaur did the OTK part pretty well. I mean it was the access code before access code. So I guess Borosaur itself is good enough to just replace or to replace the OTK part of access code if you cannot afford a card. However, there's also Borosaur couldn't do, which is the second fact that you pop everything on the field, well, as many times as you can. Borosaur doesn't have any destruction effect. Because of that, I think majority of the time there isn't really like another Link monster that massively destroy the field. Not like generic, I think. Majority of the time people will just choose like the nightmares, Phoenix, Cerberus, and the Unicorn. They all got reprinted. Cerberus didn't get reprinted, but both Phoenix and the Unicorn got reprinted in Genesis Impact as rare, so they're under $1. If you're lucky, you're probably able to even find some on the floor in your local if you're lucky. but Cerberus, on the other hand, isn't expensive either. It's like it was a super and it got reprinted as an ultra and still sits under $5. Yeah, these are relatively accessible cards. Like you can, I mean, but there's a decent amount of time where people already playing Unicorn and Axis, so there will be Unicorn something, then go into Axis, by using the Unicorn to pop even more cards. And Phoenix and Cerberus are just similar cases. Um, because if you couldn't afford Axis, now you maybe have to think about playing both Cerberus and Unicorn and Phoenix along with Unicorn. So in situations where you need to pop a monster, summon Cerberus, pop a Backrow, some Phoenix, then you go into Unicorn to do the thing. Then if you somehow still have enough monsters, go into like a Boros or TLTK opponent, which requires a lot. Now you see why Axis is good because it's doing so many different things by just itself, by one copy of it. And where if you want to achieve like similar things, you probably have to spend like 2 or maybe even 3 spots in the extra deck to do what just one access code can do. This is also why like deck building gonna gets harder if you don't have access to access code. Um, because now you have to spend more spots just for um something that one card can do, and so ideally you are building a 14 card extra deck with access code talker. Now you have to build, for example, like a 12 card extra deck with Phoenix Cerberus and Boros Sword. And it just gets like all the things, like if you have another card that has similar cases where you have to find a replacement, then your extra deck gonna just start exploding, and you will find like some point you don't have the corresponding toolbox because you couldn't fit it, since because of how tight your extra deck ended. So these are possible outcomes. That's also why, like, deck building, I always want to go super optimal on my deck building, and choosing the card that fits, like, that usually do more things um with like a very minimum amount of copies. That applies to both your extra deck and side, and sometimes even the main. However, there's one card that contradicts what I just say, or looks like contradict what I just said. Is Triple Tactic Talent. This is another card in Rise. Has not get reprinted. Sits at over $100 per. Oh, these are Japanese. Don't fall into it. These are not legit copies. Yeah, sits on. Oh, also $115. See, this is a card where I just see people play on and off quite often. Like, some people really like it, some people really don't like it, some people really iffy with it. I'm on the side where I never really liked the card, but it does sometimes fill the purpose of what I needed to do. Usually, like, it looks like it can do a lot. However, it does have a condition where your opponent has to activate a monster in your main phase. Um, Therefore, when you actually play the card, it feels very dead. Apparently, it's weird, but it's just how the card is. I don't like the card, but that's more like probably my personal preference at this point. Majority of the time, people use this card as like um an answer to hand trap, so like a defensive card against hand trap. More instead of defensive, more like instead of being defensive, it's more like just a recovery plan after being hand trapped. So, well, overall, it's centering around against hand trap, and therefore there's a decent amount of copies or different this decent amount of different cards you can actually choose. Call by is one, which is actually the primary target people choose. Oh, even over the 3T. See, callback has also get reprinted in so many sets already, and it's dirt cheap. It's also limited, well, because it's good. Um, so it's relatively accessible, and they're probably gonna do even better than 3T majority of the time. Uh, and well, that's also why it's got limited. Like back then, if callback was at 3, I'll probably never even want to play 3T. But now, because callback is a 1, then 3T maybe has a reason to get played. There are other copies, other cards. Let me see. Where am I? Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion. Well, this has to combine with another card. How to spell? Let me see. I'll just type this way. Ice Restrict. God, what's her name? Nope. How to spell Millennium? There you go. Millennium Ice Restrict. This was a primary copy, well, primarily hand trap defending card before Instant Fusion got limited. Instant Fusion, the one of the broken card after Master Rule changed. You spell some at level 5, lower fusion monster from your extra deck, and you usually bring out Millennium Eyes. Millennia says if your opponent activate monster effect, you get to target an effect monster on opponent's field or in their graveyard, equipped to it, and everything or any activated effect that has the same name as whatever equipping got negated. So what you can do is you start with Instant Fusion, bring this out. When your opponent activates any hand trap like Ash Draw, you chain to that Ash or Draw, equip it to Millennialize. So therefore, on resolution, since you are equipping that monster, the hand trap will be negated, which pseudo it feels like another callback. And the downside is Instant Fusion, Millennialize, this costs you one extra deck. So if your extra deck, if you play a deck where it requires a lot of cards in the extra deck, it probably you might not have enough spaces. And let me see. On the good side is Millennials, unlike a year ago, this has been reprinted in the Legendary Duelist Season 1 that box probably no one touched, but there's still singles online. Their card right now sits around, let me see, about $10. Like these are not verified sellers, don't go for them. Verified sellers lowest is like 10, 10.50, and even the actual copy is only like, oh, that's Korean. Even the actual copy is like $20. So it's very relatively cheap. That's what I'm trying to say. Relatively cheap. However, also Instant Fusion is a one-off. Uh, there is a new quote unquote Instant Fusion coming in. I think Donald Majesty. It's the Retour Fusion, I think. Well, that card only bring out non-effect monsters, so Instant Fusion into Millennia. This combo doesn't work on that one, so just don't worry about it. It's not impossible. Then this is another copy you can use to defend Handtrap. Um, let me see. Now I think about it. A while ago, actually, I've made a couple videos. Include like talking about different kind of just sort of like um a description for everything. Yeah, this was the thumbnail. It was like it's still on my channel, probably like half more than half year already. I think it's around like October, November last year. I did like explain or just talk about a different kind of possible hand traps, anti-hand trap cards, and going first, going second cards. I think my initial plan was actually just telling everyone so people will understand all of them. Thus, they will be able to like figure out by themselves a quote unquote replacement card if there's a budget issue involved. However, maybe I didn't express it well enough, so there's still a lot of people asking me, or maybe they just didn't watch it. If you're one of them, go check those kind of those couple or like three of them, yeah, 3 or 4 videos is still on the channel, and tell me what you think afterwards. So yeah, then another card I was trying to talk about is the one you see right now in the center. It's Crossout Designator. It says when it's a quick play spell, you activate declare a card in your deck, like a card name that exists in your deck. You banish one copy of that, and for the rest of the turn, anything that has the same original name got negated. So this is like another sort of call by grave, which people in OCG are heavily being played at right now. We still don't know when are we getting this card, but if we do get this card, it's one of probably the best anti hand trap card you available to us. So we'll just see when it's eventually gonna come. Like this can very well replace, or almost completely replace the purpose of 3T if you're using it as a hand trap defensive card. However, this might just be the next 3T where it could easily be like an $100 secret in the core set. So at that point, maybe you're gonna watch the video and be like, yeah, maybe I can play 3T instead of this. since 3T most likely get reprinted already at that point, and you might have another budget issue on the Crossout. So let's go back to TCG Player. So these are a couple things I was trying to include to sort of make like an answer to a general answer to all the comments asking quote unquote like just replace some copies, like the cheaper budget version of everything. There are still a lot of cards that's like expensive, for example, or expensive in the current format. Nadir. Yeah, what can you do if how can I play Dogmatica if I cannot afford Nadir? The answer is you probably can't. Oh, there's let's like specifically Dogmatica searcher, and if you want to play Dogmatica, you better have this, right? If you cannot afford it, I guess the option is not available for you. Other copy is like I think Drytron Nova. I think this card is actually going up right now. Yeah, Nova is about like 26. Oh, that's relatively cheap actually. So well, but still, a place of Nova gonna cost you close to $100, which is still a decent amount of money to like part of the player base. And what can you do? How can you play Drytron without Drytron Nova? The answer is you probably better not play it. If you really want to play it, you can play either on DB, which you ignore the budget issue, or you should really expecting to win a lot less as if you would have the cards, because that's like this is one of the cards that make the deck good. And since you don't have it, your win rate's gonna be significantly lower, and that's just how the game is. There's always a cost, and there's always a demand, and there's always a cause and effect. So yeah, this is my take of sort of competitive and budgets, and I hope in the future whoever gonna comment down under my video saying, "Oh, you have this copy of expensive card in the format. What can I do with it when I have a budget issue?" I will just be not ignoring them. Oh, but I will also not be not feel annoyed. All I'm gonna do is, hey, here's a video you can check. Just watch that. You're probably gonna learn something off it. And there you go. Not only I answered them perfectly, um I also increased my views. There, that's perfect. So, all right, this is the video of the day, and I hope everyone like it. And I will see everyone in the next video in the lab. See ya.